Bank Plc, in collaboration with Leadway Assurance, Saro Africa, Agric, AFEX Commodities Exchange Limited, Mastercard Foundation and Stears Data Arrangement, held the 4th edition of the Agriculture Summit Africa ASA 2021, themed Building the New Agro-Order. The event, which had participants from across the African continent, with a number of speakers and panelists, discussed topical issues around the agricultural sector, from policies to investment and the African Continental Free Trade Agreement in enabling a vibrant agric ecosystem in Africa. Chairman Sterling Bank Asue Igodalo noted the essence of the summit and its importance to the Nigerian economy.
When we started the ASA 4 years ago, we conceived it as a powerful advocacy platform to provide solutions towards rebuilding and transforming our agricultural sector into a resilient growth driver. We have taken this challenge very seriously. We believe that it is an unacceptable and ironic paradox to lack, have raw material shortages, and have food insecurity in the midst of so much fertile and arable land across Africa. In the last 3 years, our bank has paid specific attention to and concentrated resources on the health, education, agriculture, renewable energy, and transportation sectors. These, when put together, represent the heart of Sterling, our strategic North Star. Right in the middle of that strategy is the agriculture sector. For this reason, either by design or fortuitously, agriculture has been and remains the heart of our heart strategy. To us, ASA has become much more than a summit. It is now one of the most important sources of providing powerful suggestions to drive real inclusive economic growth in Africa, create employment, reduce poverty, and provide a strong base for our manufacturing sector.
Group Managing Director of Saro Africa, Mr. Rasheed Sarumi, while delivering the keynote address at the summit, noted that stakeholders should begin to see their challenges as opportunities.
For us to build the new agro-order, the private sector has to see this as the greatest opportunity. It's actually happening when, in Nigeria, for example, we are faced with numerous challenges, one of which is dollar illiquidity arising from a big import bill, and agriculture can actually come to the rescue. Not because one is grandstanding, because over my career in the last 30 years, I have seen some level of transformation, more especially in the last 10 years in the agriculture space. The thrust of my discussion of my speech this morning is private sector bringing innovation. Innovation can solve problems. Innovation will attract smart capital. Innovation can address consumer pains. Innovation can propel the growth of agriculture in Africa more than we've had even over the last 30 years, especially in the last 10 years. And I have looked at Nigeria as an example, and I've identified certain companies who are driving the growth of agriculture as a motivation to what can be. I'm going to start with Babangona, for example. Babangona came into the Agric space with a whole lot of capital, especially in the last 10 years. But with very low capital, Nigeria has great ideas, and have identified certain companies who, knowing fully well, are driving that. The problem with agriculture is to use innovation to solve perennial problems. we supported Babangona, one of the Saro Africa subsidiaries at inception. And today, Babangona is buying 50-fold of inputs in the Agro-Order model, which is powering maize production in Kaduna State. Babangona can say, oh, there is no enabling government policy, or farmers will never cooperate, yields are low. But they've seen yield from their farmers move from 1.5 metric ton to north of 6 metric tons per hectare. So when you look at Babangona, private company, low in resource, high in innovation, wanting to make impact, this is what can happen. This is the opportunity, and this is a proven one. We've also seen companies like AFEX. We've seen older companies in PZ Wilma, Presco, Seat, JB Farms, Okomo in the oil palm value chain. Yeah, you can see these are bigger companies, but they're actually taking the bull by the horn. We've seen innovation in Simply, which is selling Nigerian food recipes, right? These are opportunities in the agri-value chain. And these are companies that have shown that with innovation, things can change in the agri-business value chain. We've seen Agric, another associate company of Saro Africa, in seed production. We said yield is low in Nigeria. We all depend on government. In the last 25 of the last 30 years, government sees seed as where they have to intervene and do stuff. But here, we have seen attraction of capital innovation, and today, Agric has yield in maize in excess of 12 metric tons. They have in soybean at 4 metric tons. And as this technology is adopted, it will actually change the narrative. Okay, people complain that the policies of government is not in support of agriculture. But I beg to disagree. At times, where government is not acting, it gives the private sector headroom to innovate. And I'm going to list a few examples. Where we have seen intervention is in finance. 15 years ago, accessing finance for agriculture, quite cumbersome and difficult. And I could remember like 25 years ago, one of the banks that came to form Sterling only had like 3 of us as customers in agriculture that they could consider valuable. How did I know? We are always invited to all the functions, so to speak, and we got to know ourselves. Today, in the last 5-7 years, Sterling Bank has become a powerhouse trying to drive agricultural growth. And you can see it in the list of their customers across the different agricultural value chain. This is what innovation and entrepreneurs trying to fill this space can do.
Director Advisory and Capital Markets, Afrexim Bank, Ibrahim Sagna, focused on the Green Mile AfCFTA, trade and Africa agro-business sector to discuss policy framework and funding opportunities.
In this arrangement, there will be winners and losers, as many believe that eliminating tariffs could wipe out billions of dollars in custom duties earned by the least developed countries, the LDCs, for whom the matter of tariff concession is a sensitive one. Although the agreement is expected to positively impact most of the member states, the main players that stand to benefit the most are the small countries. And as such, they should position themselves to reap the maximum benefit of this agreement. I would also like to point out that the AU Summit mandated Afrexim Bank to work with the AfCFTA Secretariat and trade ministers to establish an adjustment fund to support an orderly adjustment for countries that may experience revenue loss arising from this liberalization. And it also will support the private sector to adjust to the new trading environment established under the new agreement. The amount required for the adjustment is estimated at $8 billion. And Afrexim is very proud to already have committed $1 billion. We at Afrexim Bank are extremely proud to be contributing to the new chapter of African integration. To achieve this, the bank has developed a number of financing and facilitation instruments to support intra-Africa trade under AfCFTA. And one of the key initiatives is Intra-Africa Trade Fair, which is a platform to be held every 2 years to connect buyers and sellers across the continent. And this event addresses access to trade and market information as key enablers for intra-Africa trade. Some of the practical solutions that will be showcased by the bank include an African Trade Gateway, a digital ecosystem that facilitates intra-Africa trade and eliminates challenges around complexities of payment transfer across Africa. Currently, low access to trade and investment information.
The Group Head Africa and Solid Mineral Finance, Sterling Bank, Mrs. Bukola Awosanya, also noted the contributions of Sterling Bank in the Nigerian agricultural sector.
This is one of our aims and our goals within the sector to say, okay, why did we go into agriculture? Agriculture is an impact sector. It's a sector that provides over 60% of employment in Nigeria. And without food, all of us will not be here. So everybody sees agriculture as a sector that is just there. But we felt coming into it, we'll be able to structure it. We'll be able to make it a bankable business, because a lot of people don't want to go into it because of the associated risk. But however, we have been able to understand the sector, and we have been able to put some structures in place to drive the sector in Nigeria. And as a result of what we have been doing in the sector, we found that a lot of more banks have now come into the sector, and everybody has seen that agriculture is viable, and it can be viable if proper structuring is done. So in Sterling, we have been able to do that, and it's working. And one of the things we do is also to mitigate, to ensure that risks are properly mitigated. We put insurance schemes in place. We ensure there's markets, because if there's no market, whatever you produce will just be there, and it could perish, and that's the end. So we always try to ensure that there's markets for whatever you're producing, and that's where you have off-takers, you have the industries, the people that need it as a source of raw material. If you look at it again, we've been talking about foreign exchange in Nigeria, the dwindling economy and things like that. If we're able to produce what we eat, then the issue about foreign exchange will be far better. And so you can see a lot of companies now are going into backward integration, where they're producing. So for example, we used to import a lot of maize, but now farmers are planting maize. We used to import rice. We spend over $1 million per day to import rice. But that narration has changed today. Why? Because we now have a lot of farmers planting rice, and we have a lot of processing mills in the country. So we now produce what we eat, and that has also helped reduce the impact and the pressure on the foreign exchange market. So the more we continue to produce, we can produce and also export, and be an export earner, in foreign exchange earner for the country, apart from oil. So agriculture is a sector that is important. You cannot do without it. We must eat. It is the largest employer of labor, and it also contributes one of the contributors to the country's GDP. So agriculture is very, very important.
The Agricultural Summit Africa is a welcome development that can help to address issues of food security, building a resilient food production system, as well as achieving an innovative value chain financing in Africa.